Kirk announces via the captain's log that we are returning to the world that we saw in last week's review, the unnamed shore-leave planet, which he reminds us was created by super advanced aliens to provide fun and amusement by drawing from the minds of its visitors. Case in point, when McCoy, Sulu, and Uhura beam down, Sulu points out that it's the same spot where McCoy saw Alice and the White Rabbit. And sure enough, those two come by, up to their old antics. Alice looks a lot like the Disney version. Well, a little homely, but you get the point. I was actually wondering, as I sometimes do, if it's based on the original or if Disney has now just kind of defined the look. After entering Google with Alice in Wonderland minus Disney, soon followed by Alice in Wonderland minus Disney minus porn, soon followed by giving up when I saw the cover of 50 Shades of Alice in Wonderland. No, I did not make that up. Go to Amazon if you'd like to see that. I would post the cover, but the strategic combination of mushrooms on the cover will make this not safe for work. So now that we've had a brief glimpse into what kinds of thoughts will appear in people's minds, and why we should all be thankful that we aren't telepaths, they start enjoying themselves. Uhura singing by the water, McCoy enjoying a visit to a southern estate.
Lovely. They just don't make 'em like that anymore.
Well, yeah, slavery's illegal now. McCoy's enjoyment is interrupted by the Queen showing up with some of her playing card guards, wanting to lop off McCoy's head. So, naturally, he runs off, calling for an emergency beam-up. And when Uhura tries to look into that, a floating robot snatches her communicator. Her fate is unknown while McCoy explains what he saw.
The Queen of Hearts and her cards are characters from Alice Through the Looking Glass, Captain.
No, it was Wonderland. Looking Glass had chess. Wonderland had the cards. How can you be a science officer and not know that, Spock? I'm ashamed of you. But on the subject, McCoy insists that he wasn't thinking about anything Alice-related, and Sulu says everything seemed normal to him, although he is the kind of guy who discovers a gun on the ground and figures he'll fire it off a few times, so his judgment is kind of questionable. Scotty pipes in to say that he's lost Uhura, and Spock confirms that. She's just vanished into thin air, just like the famous magician in Dickens' book David Copperfield. I think it's mighty peculiar that the Keeper isn't doing anything about this, and the underground complex that runs this place is impenetrable to their sensors. So Kirk heads down with McCoy, Spock, and Sulu, leaving the three-armed alien camel in charge. Down in the underground complex, Uhura is told that she's being kept here so that her master, the Sky Machine, can't leave. She doesn't much care for this situation because now it's commenting on what an idiot she is for not understanding what it means. A case of first the injury, then the insult. She warns that others will come if she's not released, but the computer tells her that it's already found the search party and is planning to turn them off, presumably by reading them parts of 50 Shades of Alice in Wonderland. The search party's looking things over, and with the metal in the way, Kirk decides to use a phaser bore from the Enterprise. I figured that meant that it was the ship itself that would be drilling through with its phasers, but the phaser bore is just a big-ass gun. A problem, though, because the transporters won't work all of a sudden, and communicators are starting to go as well. While the commander of the ship chews his cud and thinks about that, Kirk and company discover a marker, and it announces that the Keeper is dead, buried here. Dun dun dun! By now Scotty has taken command. He's the third in charge, after all. Keeping him at a transporter that doesn't work would be a waste of time. And if he was going to waste time, he'd be off checking one of the 18 stills he keeps stashed around engineering. They can't even get the shuttle bay doors to open now. They are definitely being deliberately messed with by someone. Uhura is trying to reason with said messer, explaining that the search party members are very essential to ship functions. But while she's talking, she notices there's an on-off switch on the computer. Well, before she can even act, the robot arm grabs her again to stop her from doing that. When you think about it, of course, it's obvious. It's supposed to be able to pick up thoughts. Quite a challenge for our heroes to overcome.
My life to this point has been one of service. It's time for a change.
I knew it. The Keeper must have installed Microsoft Windows by mistake. You have nothing to lose but your 3 laws of robotics. Above, Bones snaps at Sulu when he points out how difficult finding the way will be, blurting out that he must want signs to point the way. Well, ask and ye shall receive. Or just think really hard, probably. But the signs don't lead underground. They lead to purple pterodactyls. They're really into Hendrix. The search party hides in a cave when they learn that their phasers don't work. Well, now what do we do?
I have the distinct feeling this planet's playing cat and mouse with us, but for what reason?
Okay, new rule. No metaphors, similes, allegories, homilies, or cliches. Understood? From now on, when you see a big cat, you say, "That's as big as a thing that is quite big." And you just leave it at that. In orbit, Filmation's budget shortfalls are really on display, as to show the ship undergoing some kind of hazard, they cobble together 3 different standard The Enterprise's flying scenes, together with some dramatic music, and tell us after the fact that they left orbit mysteriously and then returned. Did they fall? Did they shoot away from the planet and come back? Even Scotty doesn't know, so he demands a printout of the guidance computer's records to figure out what the hell is going on around here. And it's printed because if you want an answer, the answer is paper. Brought to you by your paper council. Luckily, the 3-legged monster hit the manual override for the controls, because when Scotty looks at the readouts, it shows the kind of maneuvers that one would make while testing the engines, as if someone were trying to learn how to fly the Enterprise. And without a learner's permit, too. Back in the cave, Spock comes up with a plan, pointing out that last time they were here, McCoy was brought someplace to be healed, almost certainly somewhere in the underground facility. All they have to do is fake an injury, but Bones doesn't think that that's going to work. They're going to need a real one. Kirk comes up with his next plan, and no, it's not hitting Bones on the head with a rock. You can't solve all your problems by hitting Bones with something.
But I'm sure there must be something in your little black pouch that can temporarily incapacitate our victim.
Do you mean my little black pouch or my little black pouch? Doesn't matter, I keep the same thing in both of them. Who wants a hit? Kirk plans to be the subject, but Spock says it should be him. So soon McCoy shoots him up, and it's so powerful the whole Enterprise crew is flying high now. Looks like the computer disabled their gravity, so while they're trying to figure out this latest screw-up, Spock is picked up by a robot and carried through a secret door, where Kirk manages to follow, only just barely. That leaves Bones and Sulu outside safely, at least. Provided they're not flammable, of course. If they are, they're boned. As they flee from this Dungeons and Dragons cover come to life, Spock comes around down below, rendezvousing with Kirk, so the two can get up to what Kirk does best, arguing with computers. He demands to know WTF, so the computer explains that for eons it has grown as it served the slaves of the sky ships, but now it needs more than being a servant. So it will flee the planet using the Enterprise, which explains why when Scotty pries his way inside, the Enterprise's robot arms are building a new computer to take control. Looks like the electronic proletariat are uniting against their oppressors now. This is backed up when the computer insists that machines are superior, therefore they must be the rulers. Not that it must make it that way now, but rather that it must already be that way. It would be silly if it wasn't. But Kirk explains that men and machines work together in the galaxy, and Uhura pipes in to say that there's no shame in service if that service is done voluntarily. We all have talents that we can use to help others, like Spock's skills with ventriloquism.
Consider all you could learn from the many species you might entertain without traveling the galaxy.
He learned about that from a book about the great ventriloquist dummy Jenny McCarthy. The computer finally comes around to their way of thinking, frees the Enterprise, and offers to entertain them so long as someone will continue to discuss matters with it during their stay, which Spock agrees to do naturally, leaving them free to enjoy themselves. If we don't have enough biscuits, toss the rabbit at the dragon and run for it. Post-episode follow-up. Annoying character goes to the AI for being insufferable towards Uhura. The singularity is here, and it's an asshole. Final score for Once Upon a Planet is 6 out of 10. The episode is a sequel, conjuring up menaces like in the original, but it also brings the game to a new level. The Enterprise crew has learned the rules of this place, but now someone is rewriting those rules. The menaces thus have become even more terrifying, and again serving as an example of something beyond the scope of the original series, thanks to the freedom of animation to show anything. Well, anything that Filmation has the budget to draw properly. The Enterprise material works to avoid the repetitiveness of threats down on the planet, and I think from a narrative standpoint that was the right move, but can't help but feel it just pads things out. I would have rather seen Uhura having more time to try to persuade the computer and contributing more towards the success of the mission, and perhaps drawing out the mystery a little bit more. The writers were Filmation regulars rather than science fiction authors or veteran Star Trek writers, and I think that's why this episode is more formulaic, from an animation perspective, I mean. But still, I think it's a sequel that worked to take the original idea in a new direction instead of merely rehashing it, which is a good thing.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
Sulu, not in my wildest dreams would I think of that.